Hello. This is first in what is hoped many recordings of club demos from the Central Florida Woodturners. This evening's presenter is Mark Sillay, the topic being slicing wood. Mark will demonstrate how to hold the tool properly before we start the cut, during the cut, and why this is so important for a near finished surface. One note, as this is our first try at Zoom meetings and recording, someone, we won't mention names here, forgot to hit the record button, so the first 3 or 4 minutes were not recorded. So you will be joining a few minutes into the demo. We promise to do better in the future.
That is a V-cut. Now people say, oh, I'm just going to push my tool straight. If I don't lift this handle up and arc down to the center, then you see woodturners doing this. They keep sliding off the cut line because as the diameter decreases, the only way to keep that cut line is to follow the reduction in the diameter. Any question? Okay, we'll go to the Cove.
We have a question. Somebody on an iPhone.
What?
Somebody on an iPhone have their hand up. Did you have a question? You're on mute. All right, go ahead.
Okay. So the next shape that we have, I'm going to make a new V-cut here. I'm going to make a cove. So the first thing we have to do is we have to make a V-cut to give our tool a place to go. Oh, that's a crock, Mark. That's just a crock. I've never heard anything so weird. I can make a cove. Look at this. Can anybody see how shattered that is? Right here.
Yes.
Totally shattered. Because why? The wood came into the wood turning tool. So to make a cove in a slicing manner, when you're doing your ornaments or finials or whatever, we have four motions that have to happen at once. Number one, the heel of your hand must remain locked onto the tool rest. You curl your fingers around the tool, and the tool has to go through your hand like a pool cue. Because the only way this tool works is the point of the tool must be the first thing that touches the wood. And then the curl of the curl of the flute will lift and curl up the wood. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lock my heel. I'm going to push the tool straight into the point. And then I'm going to twist it to either 11 or 1, so it slices on the lower blade. We never use the upper blade of the tool. To make the tool go this way, I have to turn my hip this way. On a cove, the tool must always end up above the wood. On a V-cut or a bead, it has to go to the center of rotation. So that means if the tool has to go above, that means I have to drop my hip. And I'm starting the tool by pushing the point in at 12 o'clock. By the time I get to the end of the cove, I'm going to slowly twist the tool. Oh, that's a dog.
That's Nick. No, it's his little kid.
Oh. Anyway, so at the end, I'm going to slowly twist like a Baskin Robbins. I'm going to scoop the ice cream. And the cut is going to end up on the very side of the blade. So we have a parabolic curve on the front of the top of the blade. And notice on the back, I have a convex grind so that I have 128th of an inch bevel that touches the wood no matter where it is on the blade. I do not use a concave grind. And all this stuff that I'm doing, this is a deep flute spindle gouge. I personally never use a detail gouge because you can get much finer detail with a deep flute gouge than you can with a detail gouge. The detail gouge has got heavy metal on the back and it's made for reaching way over the tool rest. Okay, here we go. Lock the heel of our hand. That's our rotation. We're going to push, lean, drop our hip, and twist. Here we go. 12, 1, push, lean, drop, and twist. 12, 1, push, lean, drop, and twist. 12, 11, push, lean, drop, and twist. 12, 11, push, lean, drop, and twist. We're going to go back. We're going to take the high side off. 12, 1, push, lean, drop, and twist. You go right there. And we should have a perfectly sliced. I got one little, where's the right? We should have an absolutely perfectly sliced cove. Any questions? Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a flat cut. If I'm trying to make this a flat cut, if I pull my tool sideways, can anybody see the little radial lines on here? Anytime you're using a wood turning tool, if you see radial lines on your work, that means you're inappropriately using, like I'm right-handed, I would be inappropriately using my left hand. If you're left-handed, to be just the opposite. So if we pull the farmer's plow sideways, we're not riding the bevel, and we're always going to get lines on our work. There's no way you can bring it across smooth. Be it a bowl gouge, spindle gouge, whatever. So what I do is I lock the heel of my hand on the tool rest. I'm going to rotate around. That's my rotation point. I lay the tool so that the cut line comes halfway down the parabolic curve. And all I do is I just slowly roll my hip to the right. And I have a no sand, absolutely no sand 2x4. And you see how it curled up the wood just like the skew. So we've done the V cut, we've done the cove. Now let's do a bead. There's one reason and one reason only that wood turners cannot turn beads. Does anybody know what the answer is?
No.
What did she say? Oh, okay.
One person said.
The reason that wood turners cannot successfully turn a bead is because the tool is entered the wood wrong. It's wrong entry. I'm going to prove it to you. Is that a bead? No, it's a bead shape. And then wood turners want to do this.
Yeah.
Beads don't have corners.
Good, I'm glad. Well, enjoy your whatever you're watching.
So what that means is that every tool that you have in your toolbox, right, the bevel is always 90 degrees to the wood, no matter what shape you're making. If I'm making this cove, that bevel is always 90 degrees to the wood. If I'm making this bead, right, the bevel is always 90 degrees to the wood. So what does that tell us? If I want to make a bead, I'll just flatten this off here. So I'm going to look at the equator. There's the equator. Let me just do something real quick. Let me get something round and okay, maybe I can do it right over the camera here. Okay, can the camera see this can and the tool?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so at the 3 o'clock, if this is 12 o'clock, my bevel is 90 degrees to the 3 o'clock hand. As I move around the bead shape, you know, if I'm doing a bowl or whatever, right? It has to move all the way around. And when I get to the 12 o'clock, it's still 90 degrees. So this has to stay 90 degrees all the way around. No exceptions. Because as soon as you don't have 90 degrees, two things are going to happen. You're going to lose the cut line or you're going to have a tremendous tear out. Okay. So there's 3 motions in the bead. 1, I'm pushing it forward. 2, I've got to go all the way around to the north or south pole. And we, at the same time we're going around, we have to do what? We have to raise the handle and drive the cut line down to the center. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna make a little V cut on that corner. Just get rid of the wood. Okay, I'm on the equator. I'm at the cut line. Right? I'm going forward, around, and all the way down to the center, and all the way over here. So that my bevel is 90 degrees to the South Pole. Now, I'm right-handed. If I go this way, the tool has to come in front of my body. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand here. I'm going to put my tool in the ending position. I'm going to plant my left foot on the ground. Then I'm going to lean my body in here. Right? And I'm going to hit the bevel on the equator again. I'll clear the cut line. I'm going to take that little edge off. There we go. Now I'm going to push my cut line all the way around to this position here. So I'm 90 degrees to the bevel. Now you see, this is sort of looks like an egg. This is a little bit longer than this. So if I want to make, I just go back and shorten that up because they really have to be equidistant. All right. Now, see that little line? Anybody see that line? What happened? I didn't put the bevel 90 degrees to the equator, did I? I started a little off and I got a line. Okay. Oh, Mark, I don't need to do that. You know something? I can just do this. I can just put my tool right here. You know, I can just roll it to make a bead. God, I get a terrific slice doing that. I can do it this side too. If we take and we stop this, right? If we look at this under a magnifying glass, where I put this tool right here, you can actually see a little line where, guess what? The wood was coming into the blade. So now we have to use sandpaper again. Because we have to start out with the end of that blade in line with the rotation in order to slice it. Any questions on the beads? Okay. Okay, we've done beads, coves, flats, and we've done our V-cuts. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a point. The point, the center of the tool comes to the center of rotation. I'm just going to cut this off. Okay. Now, if I don't raise the handle and drive the point of the tool to the center of rotation, it slides off. So you have to raise that, you drive that point to the center of rotation. Now, can everybody see that point? All right. Now watch what I'm going to do. I am going to put a fresh burr with my hone on this tool. I just caught the magnet. There we go. Okay, so now to make, if I push and I push this tool across, it's this 2x4, it's going to break the fibers at the end and I'll never get a sharp point. So if I make my cut into the tailstock, then the force is not going across the piece of wood. It's like when you're making a cane, right? People will try to make a cane and they'll have a long piece of wood. They get it down on the lathe to 1 inch. And the thing will start to vibrate and vibrate. Why? They're putting the pressure across the tool, across the wood. If you make all the cuts into the headstock or into the tailstock, there's no vibration. Anyway, so here we go. So as I push down, you see I'm going to push straight as I can toward that tailstock. Now to get down to 1 fiber on a 2x4, as you're pushing down, right, you get down almost to the end, and then you stop the tool. You no longer move it with your body. You look at the end of the tool and you move it mentally. Just look at the tool and think about it going forward. And when you think about it going forward, it eventually will. Right, just stand there and hold it. Just think about it going forward. Now we get it down to a sharp point. This is tough to do on a 2x4, but Gaboon ebony and stuff like that, you can do it, pretty easy. But the principle's the same. Let's get that. See, we come right down there and then we just think about it. See that? Get right on down there. Maybe we can get it finer. Anyway, you get the drift. Okay, so that's how we make points. We're going to do discs now. Take this. So remember, you cannot restrict your tool. Right? In my shop, no thumbs allowed on tools, right? Because you have to be able to move. All you need is your body triangle, and I can put pressure from back here down on my, on my tool. All I gotta do is keep it down here, but I want to push this tool. My arm, my finger, my tool, my arm are always in line because we push the tool this way. We've got a complete 360 ball right there. Okay, here we go. We're going to be 90 degrees across the spindle, right? We're going to twist the tool to the 1 o'clock cutting position. I'm going to lock the heel of my hand onto the tool rest. All right, know you're going to hear this over and over. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up. I'm just going to lift my heel off the floor, right? And my body's going to come up and the tool is going to go down. I'm lifting it straight up like grandma's pump handle at the farm, right? So I'm going to touch the lower blade first, raise up, and I just hold it up to the left. Put my point behind the edge, lift up, pull left. Behind the edge, lift up, pull left. Behind the edge, lift up, pull left. So even on a 2x4, I can slice absolutely perfect discs on the edge. Now, and again, when we get to the gaboon ebony and stuff like that we're turning, you have to be very careful because they're so sharp. When they're spinning, they'll cut you like a bologna slicer at the deli. Anybody have any questions on beads, coves, flats, discs, and points?
I don't see hands raised.
Okay, if nobody has any questions, right? If you want to, since we have this little thing right here on the lathe, you guys are going to make ornaments, right? Okay, let me just do this. Okay. I'll just we'll just turn a little ornament on the top of this and we'll make a little Christmas tree. This is an excellent exercise for a Christmas tree. I'll make a V-cut. Get rid of material. Make another V-cut. Another V-cut. Another V-cut. Now watch, I'm going to go in there. I'm at the 11 o'clock position. When I join these two pieces, I turn back to 12. And it's absolutely pristine. So now I'm going to make the stand for the tree. I'm going to make a V-cut. I may be too close to this strut. I'll make a smaller stand. Okay, I made a V-cut. Now what's going to happen if I touch the point of this spindle gouge to the bottom of this Christmas tree? It violates the east-west rule. It's going to go pow. So what did we learn earlier? We have to, we stick and we make bevel contact. So if I make bevel contact, once I make bevel contact, I can go anywhere I want with my spindle gouge and never have a cut. Yeah, rub the bevel, then I can go way up underneath. Yeah, rub the bevel, go up underneath. Then I'm going to hold this thing just briefly and slice it off. There we go. I don't know if you all can see that or not.
Yeah, it's very nice.
And you see the undercut? The undercut is all sliced. I don't ever use a parting tool to cut anything off unless it's something like a line stopper or something like that where I have to be up close to it. Here, you can just, you can give it to the club or whatever. Just, okay. Okay, now I'm going to put on another 2x4. We're going to go through a 4-minute exercise. Every morning when I go to the shop, the very first thing I do is I put a 2x4. I've been doing this for 20-something years. The very first thing I do is I put a 2x4 on the lathe, and I do my beads, coves, flats, discs, and points. And that's a warm-up exercise, just like a football player warms up before he, goes into the football game. And now everything I just did Every single thing that I just did, I can do with a bowl gouge. You just can't do it as fine. But all of the bowl gouge works exactly the same. Now, the biggest problem that bowl makers have, right, is what they do is they put a piece of wood on and they get on the inside of the bowl and they try to push it with their left hand. They're the ones that create their own tear-outs. Another thing that bowl makers do, right, is they start with 60 grit sandpaper. And it takes you 2.5 hours on a 12-inch bowl to get rid of the 60 grit scratches that you put in. It's crazy. Right? So if you can make slicing cuts with your bowl gouges, right, and you can start at 400 and 800 and be done. Okay. I'm just going to do this for the sake of, I'm going to violate the east-west rule, but I'm just going to use one tool for everything.
Hey, Mark, we got about 20 minutes left. So just let you know.
Okay. I'm just going to do this real quick. Just using my spindle gouge as a... Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, you can time me if you want. I shouldn't take more than 4 minutes. I'm going to make a point. Center of the tail to the center of rotation. Okay. I'm going to roll a little bead right here. I'm going to make a disc right here. I'm going to make a disc right here. All right. See, I'm doing sideways cuts. Now I'm going to push the gouge through and go above the wood. Make a cove cut. See that? Bingo. There we go. I'll make that a little thinner just because it's a wood turning club. Okay. So now I'm pushing the tool. I'm pushing the cut line with the point. And I'm on the lower blade. My hands are back on my body where I have control. Right? Because as soon as I put my left hand up here and push this thing sideways, I've goosed the moose. I'm no longer a wood slicer. We're going to blend that so there's no shadow. Another thing is happening here too, right? I'm putting these cuts toward the tailstock or the headstock, and you're not seeing any vibration. Right? Just to prove it to you, I'll make it thinner. Okay? I'll make that thinner. There's no vibration. See that? I'll make a V cut just for humor. I'll make another V cut over here. You know, I'll make a flat cut. I'll make a V cut over here. Giving my gouge a place to go. I'll roll a bead. On the equator, push the cut line all the way around to the center. On the equator, push it all the way around to the center. Yeah, there's a little corner right there, so I'll clean that up just a little bit. And now between those shapes, I have to roll that gouge to 12 o'clock to clean up so that there's no erosion. Now, I've been on the road holding hands-on workshops at Fort Myers and Sarasota, and I've stopped at some other people's houses holding hands-on workshops. The only way you can really learn this stuff is put your hand on the tool and get the feel of it. Anytime you guys, want to entertain workshops, I charge the club $50 per man per day. It's pretty inexpensive. Okay, I'm going to make a cove. Push, lean, drop, and twist. Go right above the wood. I got a little shadow there, but that's okay. I'm gonna make a V cut. Make a little chamfer. I'm gonna make a V cut here. Just getting rid of wood. I'm making a place for my tool to go. Right, so now I'm going to combine three. I'm going to combine a cove, a flat, and a bead and create an OG curve. Let me just come back here. Okay, here we go. I'm creating a cove, push, lean, push my tool right up above, right? And when I'm halfway in a burn, I'm going to rotate my hip to the right. I'm going to bring the cut back to the tip of the tool and roll it all the way over. And so now I have an OG curve that's been sliced. I hope you folks can see this on that screen. It's a little bit washed out. So now I'm going to make a V cut. I make another V cut. All right. Now to cut this thing off, I'm going to make a downhill run. So watch what I'm talking about. I'm going to cut a little bead, and I'm going to make the V cut go downhill. Right? I start around that bead. I make a downhill cut. If I don't make that downhill cut, then the curl from the wood as I'm slicing this off, there's no place for that wood to go. So it would push my ornament out to the side, right? So anyway, I'm downhill. Then I'll come out and I'll support that. Excuse me. I'll support that right there. As I come around the bead, that'll downhill again. And we will slice it off. I don't know if you folks can appreciate that or not, but we've got some folks here, but there's absolutely no sanding required. And that's a 2x4. Right. So then what we'll do, shoot. I got it. Okay. So I just mashed the point of that. That's okay. So what I do is I just take a little awl. I poke that in there, and I use 24 karat gold plated 8mm by 4mm screw eyes, so that the gold never tarnishes, right? And the kids have something to hang it on their Christmas tree with. Now, I make thousands of these things, and they all go to the children's hospitals. And I just did a little Santa's workshop. Where am I? Oh, I'm not under the camera. I just did a little Santa's workshop, and in 4 hours, I sold 279 ornaments and 111 spinning tops. And the kids can sit there and they can paint it with the Crayola food safe and water soluble markers. I didn't get that line right there, but we'll be okay. But that's wood slicing. And I had a question here. Since you're doing ornaments, I'm going to switch what I was going to do.
10 minutes.
Okay, 10 minutes. Here I'm going to explain it real quick. Okay, let me you have the marker? Oh, here it is right here. Okay, toothpick technology is really simple. When you're making ornaments, right? Most people make some type of a globe. And what they do is they make a little tenon and they do an overhang. Can anybody see? You want me to?
Yep, we can see it.
Can you see that? Oh, okay. They do a little overhang. Right, that'll sit down in the hole and these two sides will touch and there'll be no gaps. The problem with that is what happens if you have like a sea urchin ornament that has an irregular surface? Then you cannot do this because there's always going to be gaps and it looks like garbage. Right? So I had a student, she's mentioned on my website. She had a sea urchin ornament that was beautiful, but it had a big lump on it. Took me 3.5 weeks, but I figured out something. If I make a finial for an ornament, all of my finials are totally universal. They can go on any ornament I make. No problem. So what we do is this. If you have a sea urchin, what if we took and we ground a 45-degree angle on each side? And instead of a tenon, what would happen, right? Right, we'll just say that we grind the sea urchin, right? What, no matter whether it's high or low, wherever I put that 45, you see that? I can have it at the low spot, right? This 45 right here, it's going to have no gap on the high, it's going to have no gap on the low. You see that? We grind it that way, then we do what? We make our tenon, right? We make another 45 on the finial, and it always nests. And then what we do is we drill a hole through the middle, and down here at the bottom or whatever, we have another one. We've got a hole in it. We put a toothpick between there or something, and no matter whether we have solid, hollow, or irregularly surfaced objects, right? That's what happens. So then you take your, oh, mercy. Oh, here we go. So when I was up at Sarasota, you know what I did is I just put a piece of gaboon ebony on there. Can y'all see that? And so I made, you know, the little top finial, and I've got a hole in it, right? I used a bamboo skewer. So now if we take a solid object, right? If we take a solid object, see, I've drilled this with a 90-degree countersink. I just drill a hole through a piece of wood with a countersink on it, and guess what? When it goes through, it always matches. Now we go to the sea urchin, right? If we go to the sea urchin, or if we have a, okay, look at this. We've got a hollow form. We've made a hollow form, right? Guess what? We just put a 45 on there, and guess what? It goes right on the hollow form too. And if we have something with an irregular surface, right? Then what we do is we get us a 90-degree, stone, right? And we just do this. And now guess what? You see that? Now it fits right in there, and there is no gaps on the high and low. And you know what's interesting? Now I changed to do the skewers because a toothpick has a finite length. But you know anybody can break a toothpick, but there's not a man on earth that can pull one apart. So and the glue is inside. After you measure the lengths that they both go together, right? Then you put a drop of glue in there, right? You put a drop of glue in the other one, you push them together, and guess what? And there's no glue gap, no nothing. I wish I wanted to get the wood slicing in because that's what I'm all about. I'm a tool technician. And if I've got, does everybody understand this? I know it's very rushed for this thing. Right? Does that answer all your
I
curiosity?
can see that now.
Okay. Now, you can buy 90-degree countersinks. You can buy 90-degree grinding stones. Let me just show you. Let's see if I've got it. Okay. So what I do, let's say I'm going to make a hollow. Let's say I'm going to make a hollow ornament. Right? I make the hollow ornament. Then I do what? I finish it. I just put them on the pen mandrel with a little thing here. And guess what? I can totally finish it. Right there on the pen mandrel. No big deal.
Move it.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
See that? Just cut you a couple little cones. I think they make them now for the pen makers, right? So we have that.
Is that a rubber ducky, Chuck?
No, that's a piece of whatever that
Plastic.
some type of plastic. And if we have the ornament, then when we're drilling our block of wood, we just drill in with a 1/4-inch drill, right? And the, I don't know where that, there we go. There you go. And then the countersink is on there and it'll automatically make it. You drill it from one side, then you stick the drill in the other side and countersink it. And then guess what? This fits, it's a 1/4-inch hole. So it just what fits on the pen mandrel. So you can do all the finishing. You can put any bushing up there and you won't get any super glue or anything on the bushing. Now, and what I'm doing is I'm using one coat of medical super glue, Parfix 3408. You wipe it on, you wipe it off, and you buff it with Vonex and wax, and you get just a beautiful finish. All of my hollow forms, everything like that, I only use one coat. Never use more than one coat. There's just so, I don't have enough time here to really do all the justice to all this. But if anybody has questions, I'm going to open something up to you. If you would like to call me and say, Mark, I would like to do FaceTime with you. You can do FaceTime with you and I'll help you with any of your problems. My students can call me up anywhere, anytime. And if I send everything out. I've got 3 warehouses full of wood, all kinds of wood. If we had a meeting here tonight, I've got a truck full of wood all this nice, beautiful box elder, ambrosia maple, stuff like that. I've got, just all kind of woods that you don't have down here. And I'm taking back woods that we don't have up there. But give me a call or FaceTime me. And for those people that have Android phones, right, I have Google Duo loaded on my iPhone, so I can FaceTime with the Android phones as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. That was fantastic. If anybody's got any questions, go ahead and unmute your mic and bring your questions forward.
You said you wipe on and then wipe off a single coat of the what do you buff it with after that?
Vonex, Vonax. It's a German polish made strictly for acrylic plastic. White, you can buff it with white diamond too, but white diamond is designed for lacquer. Do we have
Some YouTube videos.
Yeah, if you go to YouTube, right, look up Mark Sillay finishes wood with Parfix 3408. It's medical super glue. It's odorless. And the reason you can use it is it has a time delay before it polymerizes. So I can wipe it over a great big hollow form or whatever, right? And then wipe it off, right? I've got plenty of time and there's no odor. It won't set up right away. And a little bit thicker viscosity, 3460 is 45 centipoids. The pen makers use that. So they can wipe it out. It doesn't start to seize up right away. So they can wipe it smooth, right? And put their 3 coats on and sand it back with 400 and 800 and, put triple E in there. But anyway, if anybody wants to see anything like that, they're welcome to call me, look at the videos. I've got videos on YouTube about all this wood slicing and how to do end grain bowls, side grain bowls, how to slice them, how to use the tools, right? And the techniques. And again, if somebody's having a problem, you're welcome to call me.
All right, thank you, Mark. Greatly appreciate you being here tonight. That was a fun presentation. A lot of good tips there.
Yeah, and when your ornaments, if you would like, I can send you all of the 2x4 types of ornaments that I do. I produce little bells, snowmen, snow women, little baseball bats. Let's see, all kinds of, those designs, any design that you want. I do them with captive rings and all that. But the 2x4 stuff is really easy. I sell them for $3 a piece or 4 for 10. And you would be surprised how many grandpas come by. And when I'm standing there turning at a show, I'm standing here so people see how this stuff is made. And as soon as I have a little low table where all the kids are painting their stuff. And I always have 15 or 20 kids around. When the people come by, guess what? Daddy, can I do that? Anyway, thank you again very much.
Thank you, Mark.
All right.
All right, guys, does anybody have any other questions? I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up our meeting. I'll be sending out an email with more information about stuff that's coming up, like we talked about earlier, and I will see you guys next month.
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Bill, thanks for helping set this up. Thurman, thank you for putting this together. And Mark, thank you for doing the demo.
Well, thank you.
See you, Ken.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Good night.